Today on Cryptidbits, we are joined by Steve Alten, author of the Meg series and Right in Time for Shark Week. It's an honor to have you on the show, so thank you so much for coming on.
Well, Jess, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Your written works range from pretty much the dawn of life on Earth to 12 million years in the future. Your books inspire youth reading all over the world and have been turned into two major motion pictures. Was there a book in your youth that inspired you to start writing?
Yeah, there are probably a few of them. I mean, Jaws has its place, of course, the sharks. But the first book that I really enjoyed that was fiction was Dracula by Bram Stoker. He told the story from journal to diary to whatever it might be, and sort of pieced it together through the whole story, which is really clever, and it was just a tremendous book. I also like the Ian Fleming's James Bond series. I thought the books were much better than the movies because they were real, because you could actually. And then autobiographies. Joe Pepitone's autobiography was amazing. Ball Four was mild compared to that, but I was a lot into the sports too. But then once Jaws hit, my real focus was reading about real shark attacks that had taken place, and I read everything I could. And there was always a little blurb about Carcharodon Megalodon in there, usually accompanied by a picture from the Smithsonian Institute. And but nothing commercial had ever been done back then. And that was I was 15 years old at the time Jaws came out. And then 20 years later, what kicked off my career was actually a Time magazine article on the Mariana Trench.
That was going to be a question I was going to follow up with, how that article sparked your interest in turning that into the Meg novel.
Yeah, the possibility that there could be life at the bottom of the ocean was no longer possible. It was there. It was in abundance. And the warm water factor and the hydrothermal vents, when I was done reading all of that, I thought, what was that shark that I used to look for when I was 15?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually drove to the library because there was no internet in 1995 and looked up the shark and found the article or the picture. And then I decided that I was going to be the one to write the book. So they go right there.
So I guess in a sense, you had that in the back of your head about a megalodon, and this article just inspired you to think that's the perfect setting for this. Did some research into it and found out it was more than a hypothesis. This could have been true.
Yeah, these things were real.
You share a screenwriting credit also for the movie.
Yeah.
Was it hard to turn Meg the book into Meg the novel, into Meg the movie, I guess? Was there a lot that had to be, was it hard to kind of translate it to the screen?
Not for me, but it took 23 years. So,
well, yeah,
23 years, three major studios, 30 producers, most of them were useless. And I mean, that's a story into itself, which I'm happy to talk about.
Oh yeah, please. If you feel comfortable, go ahead. Yeah. There was a rough road for the Meg, I guess?
Well, as I tell all in the Meg Legacy series, give you all the dirt, but essentially, My goal was to write a book. I'd never written a book before, never tried a manuscript before, but I felt I could do it, and because I like to read and I could write semi well, but I never done a book before. So
Hmm.
the first step is to do some research, which I did research on, writing a novel and what do you do from there. And because I had a job, just over broke, I call it. I couldn't work on the book until I got home from work about 10 o'clock at night. And then I'd
Wow.
stay up till about 3 in the morning or until I fell asleep at the typewriter. And my goal was to write 2 pages a night. 2 pages a night times 200 days is a 400-page manuscript.
Wow.
So I just sort of reduced it to the ridiculous and worked on it at night in my living room and on weekends and drove my wife crazy. And by December that year, I started in August, and by December I had a manuscript, and now I had to figure out what to do with it.
Hmm.
So back to the research about how to get published. Uh, the book recommended that you find an agent, a literary agent, who can represent you. So it said put together a 2-page query letter about your book and then send them sample chapters, whatever they ask for. So I looked up every literary agent in the book that handled fiction, sent a 2-page query letter out to probably about 60 of them, and waited to see what happened. And out of the 60, one guy was interested, one guy.
Wow.
And his name was Ken Ashley, and he was out in Los Angeles and also had an office in New York.
Hmm.
And he thought that the manuscript would make a great book and movie, but he said, it shows that you're new because it's the development of the characters, the length of the too many characters, too many this to be. But he said, but at the heart of this is a real story that we can bank on
Hmm.
if you're willing to do some editing and work with one of our editors. And I said, absolutely. How much is that? And when he told me, I realized I did not have anywhere near the money. So I ended up selling my car, which my dad had bought me when I was 17 years old, a Chevy Malibu convertible. And we had the book together.
To think that this was what you said, like 95-ish or so, and it was a time where there wasn't an available like self-publishing type of situation where like we have today.
Yeah, I'm glad for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess in a way, so you were helped along the way to parse down the book to what it is today, which is great.
Well,
And
we didn't parse anything down. We went after the big fish. Ken was amazing. His game plan was, first of all, get him a great manuscript with his editor, and I did. The difference was night and day. And once we had that manuscript, what Ken did was he wanted to sell the movie rights first. So he had a producer associate of his, Warren Zide, who uh, you I'm sure you've seen his movies before. Warren had a first look deal with Disney's Hollywood Pictures,
mhm.
and so he took it there. And they on Monday, his representative came back with an offer from Disney for the movie.
Oh, wow.
It was a 200 over 500, which means you get 200,000 as a down payment as
Mhm.
an option fee, and then the balance if the movie's made. But now we had a movie deal, and the book wasn't even finished. So I finished the book and turned it in September. And on Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th in 1996, I went to work I was working as a general manager in a wholesale meat company, which is a story unto itself. And found out I no longer was employed.
Oh.
It no longer needed me. So I went home and probably had like $40 in the bank, and the rent hadn't been paid. My wife was very upset. And I said, honey, it's the best thing that could have happened. Now I can focus full time on writing and see about smashed my head with a frying pan. But what happened in the next couple of days is that Meg went out to the six biggest publishing houses in New York, and buoyed by the fact that we had this dramatic rights deal with Hollywood Pictures, uh, sold for two-book deal for $2.1 million.
Wow.
So not a bad way to start.
Not a bad way to start your time off of work, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly. And it's kind of good. I know that the movie,
Not
I guess,
perfectly. There's a lot to this story.
yeah, well, there was
That was
back
the
and
roller
forth
coaster
kind
going
of.
up.
Yeah.
The roller coaster went up on a number of things. It went up to Bam Doubleday when they bought the rights and they published Jaws back in '74. They took the book to Germany, Frankfurt, Germany, where each year is held the Frankfurt Book Fair. Well, Meg was the book of the fair. They announced Meg was the book of the fair. It sold to over 20 countries. Wow. In 20 different languages. So things were looking up for that.
Yep.
But then it's when the roller coaster starts to go down that things get a little rough.
It's kind of like, I know your movie deals kind of went back and forth for quite a while. It caused a lot of issues. And do you think that if the movie was made back in, say, 97, 98, it wouldn't be, I think the movie was made exactly when it should have been. They had the correct way to make it. It looked fantastic. I think back maybe in the early 2000s, it might have come out cheesier. I know you wanted it made when it was made, but I just feel like the movie was made in the right time where they had the way to make it look good.
Well, I know it's just saying, the special effects are important.
Exactly, yeah.
But you have to have the story too.
Yeah.
And the first one was really good in both of those factors, story and special effects. The second one, not so much.
No, it was a different type of movie. I mean, I went to see them both opening day in the theater, but it was different from the original Meg movie, The Trench. It was a little. So do you think, because I think it's in Primal Waters or Hell's Aquarium, you have like the Dunkleostesis, you have the Leopleurodon, you have all of that. Do you think that the movies will get to that point? Because there hasn't been a movie like that out yet, where that type of.
I mean, the first movie did very well. It grossed over 450 million, and it was number one for most of the time it was out. So you knew they were going to do a sequel, but they, like you said, they kind of bypassed the book and came up with their own little plot.
Yep.
And didn't care and didn't have the integrity and caring that they did for the first one.
Yeah.
And so, that cost us. Now the other things cost us too. There was a Chinese partnership, and the woman who was in charge of the Chinese production company sort of dropped the ball with the IMAX rights, and that's very big in Asia. So that cost a lot of money too.
Yeah.
I mean, it did well. It did almost $400 million. So
yeah, and there isn't another movie like it. I mean, this is what, if you're into this type of, you're into the Meg, you're into your books, you're into this type of paleontology, this is the movie that we go see. This is what we have.
This one and the other half dozen schlocky ones they made. So.
Exactly. Besides the trashy ones. I mean, the good ones. This is what I'm talking about right now. What was your favorite part of seeing it all come together on the screen?
Getting paid.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
Good. I mean, that's the best part of it.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
We flew out to Hollywood and went to the premiere. And
did you have a say of who you wanted cast as in some of the roles? Not that who they would pick if you said it, but did you say, this is who I saw as the character when I was writing the book?
I thought Jason Statham was a good choice. So I let them know that was my top pick. Yeah. But once you sell your rights, you're pretty much out of the picture.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were kind of like, who would be good for this?
Well, see, I mean, it's part of the story, but we had gotten two deals with major studios and lost them both. We didn't lose them as much as they decided not to make them, or the head of the studio, like back with Disney, he was fired. So it was his the new guy coming in is going to take his projects because that'll just make the old guy look good. But what was it? About 2008, we were in a position where I had the rights back to the Meg movie, and we'd already been turned down twice, so that's like two major strikes. One more, and you're done. But I offered the rights to Belle Avery, who was a producer I met, who her forte was in raising money, and I believed in her, and it took her 8 years to raise the money, but she did it. And had they listened to her for the second one,
Yeah.
it would have been a different story.
I think it's hard that they see this movie as like it's an action movie, but to people like me and your fans who read the book, it is an action story, but there's also just so much more to it that they decide that the audience won't go to sit in a theater and watch when we will. And we'll go watch it again and again and again because we want the books. We want to watch the books on screen. Are you, and you don't have to give away any secrets, but are you in any talks for The Lock to be produced?
Yeah, actually, this is kind of upsetting, but we'll see what happens. Bell had actually gotten both of those deals together over the last couple of months. Investors for The Lock and investors for Meg 3.
Yep.
And the guy sitting in the White House decided that he was going to tell everyone that any foreign films coming into the country had to be hit by a tariff.
That's right. Yeah.
And that said bye-bye to all the investors because they were all overseas investors. So hopefully that will change.
Yeah, because cryptozoology is just so big right now. Movies being made left and right because people want that. And The Lock was, I think, besides the Meg, obviously, The Lock and Vostok were two of hands down my favorite books by you.
Well, then you'll like number 3.
Yeah.
In the air to right.
I'm waiting for Heaven's Lake. Trust me. I'm on the newsletter for that one. Along, I guess, the same lines, we'll kick it back to sharks, Meg, since it is Shark Week this week. Do you think it's kind of fair that all shark movies get compared to Jaws in one way or another?
I don't think it's a matter of being fair or not. I mean, it's people want to talk about it. It's great.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to put Jaws as number one, and I watch Jaws all the time, and I don't think it has held up. I mean, the story's terrific, and the characters are terrific, and for what they had at the time, it was good special effects. But I don't see why they can't usually insert the special effects scene by scene. But then again, once you've introduced Megalodon to the screen, Great White's just not going to do it.
No, it's not as scary anymore once you've seen the Meg.
Well, the size differential is so vast that a Meg would eat the Great White.
In the horror collection, Dead Bait 2, you have a short story called Lost in Time.
Yeah.
Which is a different type of underwater horror, I guess, for people who haven't read it yet. Go check it out. Did you have that story written and you were trying to find a place for it? Or did you write that specifically for the collection?
I think I did write that one for that collection. Or I did written for another collection, and then I just gave it to these guys.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were like, I want to try and fit this into a Meg novel somewhere, but it was kind of just such a different type of underwater horror where it's not so much creature based as it's human based.
Yeah. Interesting, but just a very short story, like you said.
Yeah, I was very surprised when I was reading Dead Bait 2 to come across your name in there and loved that story. It's always nice as a fan of an author to find short stories in different collections here and there It's kind of like a little treat when you're reading somebody else's work to find one of your stories in there.
I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, it was great. That's a good series for, I guess, water-based horror. It's not, it's all short stories, but it's very gory, I guess is the best way to put it for some of the stories.
Gets your attention.
Yes, it does. We spoke about this earlier on a non-Meg note about Locke and Vostok. The sequel is coming up in the future, Heaven's Lake. Will there be a return to more of the Scottish type of lake monsters, or will this be a completely different area that we haven't been in yet for one of your
Both.
books? Both?
Both. A story taking place in Loch Ness, and you have a story taking place in Heaven Lake, which is in China. And
Okay.
Heaven Lake was created by a volcano a little over 1,000 years ago that was so violent it tore off the entire top of the mountain. And second most deadly volcano eruption in history. And when it was done, the caldera, which is the magma chamber in a volcano, had formed the basin of a lake. And so all the snow that came down this mountain is the highest in Korea and China. And it sits right on the border of both countries.
And this is based on a actual.
Yeah, that's all true.
Okay, I was going to say, and most of your work is based in real life.
Well, it's facts wrapped around fiction.
Exactly. Well, like the kind of futuristic type of equipment and whatnot that's used, like say in Vostok, the ice drilling. So do you find something like ice coring and do some research on that and make it bigger and better for yours? I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, there's research in everything that I write. So, and that is, the bones of the story. That's a skeleton.
And it makes it more real and fact when you have such fact-based stuff, because people can go look it up and be like, oh, he didn't make that up. There it is right there.
All true.
I think that's part of your success as an author, is that I was shocked when I emailed out for an interview and I got you. Like, you're very personable with your fans. You do a lot of naming characters after your fans, which is huge. And I think that keeps your fan base. They know they can reach out to you. And I'm not telling everybody out there right now to email Steve Alten directly, but you are reachable, which is amazing for an author of your caliber.
Well, it's great for me too, because I meet wonderful people who are very appreciative. Their characters are better than I could write about. When I wrote Meg, you always have minor characters.
Mm-hmm.
And for my minor characters, I killed off the high school bully, and I killed off maybe some people that I knew.
Yep.
But you run out of those names pretty quick. So for the trench, anyone who'd given Meg a bad review, they got killed. But then once I, had the newsletters going with my career and was able to have greater access to the fans, then I could put the contest together and say, enter the contest, and your name might be drawn to be one of 60 characters.
Yeah.
And the information they give me about those 60 characters was much more in depth than I needed, but it's also better than just making up a fake name.
Mm-hmm.
So it works both ways.
You have now Meg Legacy has started being produced, your 7-volume collector's edition of the entire Meg series.
Yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, because the books have been spread across so many different publishing houses that you can't get anything that's uniform. And so the only one who could pull that off was my small publishing company, A&M Publishing. And so what we did was each volume has a Meg book in it. So there will be seven Meg books.
Mm-hmm.
The seventh ones will be written in the next couple of years. But it's also got every graphic novel in there. There's six of those. Each book has got my own autobiography, so that like I did on your interview, tell people the story that really happened back in the back scenes. Then there are fan appreciation things. There are photos in there. There are ads that were run there. Every little detail for every book, and we put it in a leather-bound hardback with the silver etching, and it really came out nice. Yes. It's something that you can invest in because I don't think the books are going to be around in hardback too much longer. Well, they don't make them at all, so it's very difficult to get.
Yeah.
But this way, for your kids or your grandkids, you've got the stories right there. They can never take that away.
And it's a great looking book. The blue is just very standout when it's on a shelf like that. It's very pretty.
Yeah, it came out really nice. We're working on volume 2 right now, The Trench. And that one's going to be 200 pages bigger than this one.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so, clear your shelves, everybody, and purchase the set. You're going to need a full shelf for it when it comes out.
Well, you had mentioned that, the short stories. Mm-hmm. There are actually short stories from Meg. It's called the Angel series. Angel being the angel Megalodon, the first Megalodon raised in captivity. So there's a lot of brand new material in each one of these books.
Yeah. So even if you do have, say, like I have the Meg book as it is now, this is just the Meg book plus. Like, this is not stuff you're going to be able to find outside of this collection.
Correct.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight, talking about Meg Legacy. It's been great having you. I know we kind of went back and forth trying to find a good date to have this interview. So I'm glad we found one and it happened tonight. And when Heaven's Lake comes out, would love to have you back to talk Locke, Vostok, Heaven's Lake, and that whole series on top of it.
Sounds like a plan.
For everybody watching, that link to Meg Legacy series will be in the description. So you can go and order your very own copy. Have a good night, everybody, and we will see you next time.